And this is the number one, the absolute number one attack of the enemy is to get God's children, to get this world to think that God is harsh and punishing and mean, and he's a dictator. And even to the point where when there's disaster in the world, they call it an act of God. Because if you're afraid of God, you don't want to spend time with him, right? If you always think that you're never good enough, you're not qualified, he's far away, he's disappointed, and he's got his big stick, well, then of course people are afraid to draw near. And they'd rather not believe there even is a God than believe that there's a harsh God. So what I am excited about is we are truly going after this lie of the devil and saying, absolutely not. We're going to see God for who he is. We're going to know him as he is, and we're going to experience him in our life. And so we've been talking about just this aspect of getting set free from those lies of the enemy so that you and I can know God. And the reason that the enemy is so aggressive about going after the nature and the essence of God, right? God is love. That's how he called himself. He goes after that because the love of God is to produce one absolutely, and it can produce a lot, but this one absolutely main thing, it was to bring us into relationship. Remember we talked about in the cool of the garden, Adam and God would walk and talk, but then sin separated that intimacy to the point God looked around and said, Adam, where are you? Right? And Adam being ashamed. And this is exactly why the enemy tries to constantly bring temptation and distraction and destruction and sin so that we feel ashamed, condemned, regretful, and we back away from God instead of drawing near to God. But the love of God is what allows us then to have relationship. In 1 John chapter 4, verse 9 through 10, if you recall, remember I said 1 John chapter 4 is a great chapter to go to and see the love of God. I hoped you've read that since last time. If not, read 1 John chapter 4 because it talks about what is love, who is love, and how that love was demonstrated. He said, for this is love, that God sent his only son to be the propitiation, the atonement, the taking our place for our sin.